Have you ever wondered what really separates the people who build wealth from, well, everyone else? It's not always about luck or some secret formula. A lot of the time, it comes down to two very different mindsets. It's like a psychological fork in the road that can shape your entire financial future. And that's exactly what we're going to break down.
And get this, even Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, says that for the first 8 years of his career, he had the whole thing wrong. Think about that. It was this one huge realization, this total mental shift, that really unlocked everything for him. It just goes to show you that how we think about money and value is way more important than almost anything else.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at Buffett's big aha moment. Then we'll dive deep into the two mindsets, the scarcity trap and how to avoid it, and the ownership outlook. We'll also talk about completely redefining risk and failure, give you some real practical steps to shift your own thinking, and finally, we'll uncover the one true motivator that actually drives wealth creation.
All right, so what was this huge wrong idea that a young Warren Buffett was chasing for nearly a decade? Well, it was a complete misunderstanding of what investing really is.
This right here shows the entire transformation. Buffett started out like a lot of people do. He saw stocks as just little squiggly lines on a chart. His goal was to predict which way the market would swing next. But then he had a total mental reset. He realized stocks aren't just tickers, they're tiny pieces of an actual living, breathing business. So he completely changed his approach. He stopped trying to predict the market and started trying to understand businesses. He wasn't a stock picker anymore, he was a business buyer.
And this really just nails it, doesn't it? Buffett himself says you don't need to be a super genius to succeed. What you need is the right orientation, the right framework for thinking about the world. And that is the absolute core difference between the two mindsets we're about to jump into.
Okay, so let's talk about mindset number one, the scarcity trap. Now, this isn't just about not having enough money. It's about how the feeling of scarcity triggers a whole bunch of cognitive biases in our brains that cause us to make some pretty bad decisions.
And right at the heart of this scarcity trap is something called the sunk cost fallacy. You probably know it by a more common name, throwing good money after bad. It's that nagging feeling in your gut that says, I've already put so much into this, I can't quit now, even when all the evidence is screaming at you to walk away.
And the most famous example of this in history, the Concorde supersonic jet. I mean, it became pretty clear that this plane was never going to be profitable. But for 27 years, the governments kept pouring billions and billions of dollars into it. Why? Because they had already invested billions. They were completely trapped by their past decision.
So why is this trap so powerful? Well, it's wired deep into our psychology. First, there's loss aversion. The pain of losing something feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. Isn't that wild? Then there's commitment bias. We desperately want to prove to ourselves that our past decisions were the right ones. And of course, there's that paralyzing fear of regret, the pain of admitting I made a mistake.
Now, when our brain is under the stress of scarcity, three things happen. First, we get tunneling. It's like tunnel vision. You can only focus on the immediate problem right in front of you, like paying a bill, and you miss the bigger picture. Second, your cognitive load goes through the roof. Just worrying about money takes up so much mental bandwidth that it's physically harder to think clearly. And third, you get stuck in a present focus. The future feels like a luxury you can't afford, so you prioritize getting through today over planning for tomorrow.
And the real-world consequences of this are staggering. Over 70% of small businesses fail. And while there are a lot of reasons for that, making poor decisions because you're caught in these cognitive traps, well, that's a massive factor. The stakes are incredibly high.
So if that's the trap, what's the way out? Well, that brings us to mindset number two, the ownership outlook. And this isn't just about thinking positively. It's about playing an entirely different game.
Entrepreneur Mark Tillsbury lays this out beautifully. Path A is working for money. You focus on getting a high paycheck right now. The problem is your income eventually hits a ceiling. You get trapped in what people call the golden handcuffs. Path B is different. You work for skills and equity, for ownership. The pay might be lower at the start, but your potential for growth isn't a straight line, it's exponential. You're not just earning a living, you're becoming your own greatest asset.
And when you look at studies of the super rich, you see these really distinct traits pop up again and again. They tend to be nonconformists. They're comfortable swimming against the current. When things go wrong, they take responsibility. They don't blame others. They also put a huge value on their gut feeling, that intuition built from experience. And this is a big one. They see wealth as a tool to build things,
not just as a means to buy a fancy lifestyle.
Now, this next idea might be the single biggest difference between the two mindsets. It's all about how they look at risk, and especially how they look at failure. It is a complete paradigm shift.
And here it is. The scarcity mindset takes failure personally. It says, I failed, therefore I am a failure. It becomes a permanent stain on your identity. But the ownership mindset, it reframes it completely. Failure isn't a verdict on your self-worth. It's a data point. It's the tuition you pay for an incredibly valuable lesson, a lesson that makes you smarter and stronger for the next attempt.
Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you really make that shift in your own brain? Let's get into some real, practical steps for this mental upgrade.
All right, here are 5 things you can start doing. Number 1, focus on the future. The question is never how much have I already put in. The question is always, what is the best decision for me from this point forward? 2, set your exit points in advance. Before you even start a project, decide what failure looks like. What are the signs that will tell you it's time to stop? 3, detach with data. Make decisions based on cold, hard facts, not on fear or hope. 4, practice delayed gratification. Visualize your long-term goals to make them feel more real and immediate than short-term temptations. And finally, number 5, get an outside opinion. A friend or mentor who isn't emotionally invested can see things with a clarity you just can't have when you're in the thick of it.
Okay, last section. What's the real engine behind all of this? If it's not about playing it safe, what's the ultimate motivation that keeps people on this ownership path for the long, long haul?
Well, let's get one thing straight first. It is not about the Lamborghini. It's not about the fancy watches or the expensive dinners. That's what Mark Tilbury calls the smoke and mirrors lifestyle you see on social media. Trying to play that flexing game too early is one of the fastest ways to get trapped right back on path A, working for money.
So what is it? What's the real prize? In a word, freedom. A major report found that, above everything else, the super rich are driven by the pursuit of independence. It's the freedom to decide what you work on, when you work, where you work, and who you work with. It's about owning your time, which is the only asset you can never, ever get back.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. When you look at your own life and your own decisions, are they a reaction to your past, driven by what you've already sunk into it? Or are they a conscious investment in the future you actually want to build? Because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. The choice is yours.